There we go. There we go. What is up, my friends? How are we? You're very welcome along to Friday night's late night agenda. Old fat fingers here. Hadn't taken down the waiting screen before I tried to start talking. So, how are we? Friday night, your weekend has officially started. I hope you're all in good spirits this evening. We have quite a bit to talk about, from a young goalkeeper that the Reds have brought in to be third choice. We're going to be speaking about, obviously, Konate, Diaz, a little bit on Darwin Núñez. Bad news, James Pearce strikes again about a potential signing, the youngster we spoke about from Blackpool. We'll go through that and, of course, lots more over the course of the next 90 minutes. Appreciate you all being in. Seen we had a member just before we started, so Alan Lethbridge, thank you, sir, for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Welcome to the community, or welcome back, sir, I should say. Daryl, how are we? Set up the Reds. Absolutely, up the Reds. And should we start off with having a little laugh at Charlie Nicholas? Because that's always a good place to start. Banter the old Arsenal faithful. So, I don't know if you've seen this earlier on, but Arsenal legend Charlie Nicholas says, and you won't believe this if you haven't heard it, Liverpool's transfer window has been phenomenal? Nope. Outstanding? Nope. Audacious? Nope. Underwhelming is the word that old Charlie Salty Nicholas has gone with. Is Milos Kerkez going to be better than Andy Robertson? I don't think so, said Charlie Nicholas. Hey Charlie, I don't know if you watched Robbo last year, mate, but it wasn't the same Andy Robertson that we've all loved for many years. So yes, Milos Kerkez will probably be an upgrade on Andy Robertson. Then he said, Florian Wirtz may take time to settle. Yeah, I know, but Christian Norgard won't. And that's what has me quaking in my boots here, Charlie. Christian Norgard in that Arsenal midfield. And then he went on to say, but I think it's a massive jump forward for Liverpool. I mean, just talk about silly, you know. It's just nuts. Liverpool have had a brilliant window so far, and for Nicholas or anybody else to say otherwise is just silliness of the extreme. But hey ho, it makes me laugh when I read these things, and I'm sure it gives you guys a little smile as well, knowing that, well, Liverpool are in people's heads and they should be worried about us because our business is outstanding. David Richardson, excuse me, mate. I'll probably get the words out at some point, David. Apologies on that one. David Richardson, thank you, bro, for becoming a member as well. Appreciate you. Charlie is Scottish, not shocked he overhypes Robbo. Well, apart from that, he had the chance to sign for Liverpool, didn't, sign for Arsenal and won a League Cup while Liverpool were winning, well, first league titles or first division titles and trophies galore. And he's probably still a little bit too salty about that, is Champagne Charlie, but that's okay. Right, where do we want to start with tonight then? Should we have a little look at Harvey Elliot for a minute? Because we know that Harvey Elliott's having an absolute blinder of a tournament. But TalkSport have reported that as well as Fulham, West Ham, Brighton, Newcastle and a whole host of other Premier League clubs, there is interest from the Bundesliga and not from Leverkusen, who we know had looked at him before, but they report that Leipzig are interested in signing Harvey Elliott this summer. He's going to have no shortage of options open up to him as he's had an incredible tournament, and I'm sure that he will have, well, the choice of many great clubs to go and sign up to. Will Liverpool put in a potential buyback clause in there or sell-on clause? I mean, only time will tell, but again, lots of suitors out there now for Harvey Elliott. And it is a sad one, isn't it? Because he's having a brilliant tournament, but we all know, as much as we'd like him to stay as fans, his game time will be severely limited. Probably fourth choice for the attacking midfield role. So I do think we will see Harvey move on. Now, one thing to keep an eye on is Liverpool's business slowing down in June because we're entering a new PSR cycle come the 1st of July. So you'll probably see Liverpool wait to do more business now into July when that new PSR cycle starts. Right, a couple of other little messages to get through. Michael, how are we, dude? So it got me singing the Anfield Agenda. Up the Reds. I think you can tell it's not me that sings it, it's AI. But yes, one of our audience sent that to us a few months ago. I tried to use it sparingly because, you know, some people think it's fun, some people think it's cringe. I just like to let you guys know when I'm in a good mood. So I play it when I'm in a good mood. It's a little, a little warning that, you know, he's going to be smiling today and not that he's going to be angry. And you know what? I've got to say, I've thought a lot about the Ibrahima Konate situation over the past 2 or 3 days. So I work like this normally. Anger, that's the first thing that comes out of me when I see a player doesn't want to stay. Then I get into bargaining, as in, let's do everything we can to just make him suffer. But the more I've thought about it, the more I think the solution is quite simple and staring us in the face. Just bring in his replacement. Simple as that. Just bring in his replacement, and whatever else happens, happens. And that's I think the best way forward. Now, this wasn't an original thought of mine. I've got to be honest. I read it somewhere else, and I just thought, you know what? That person makes sense. Don't worry about whether he's going to stay or not stay, or if he wants to run down his contract. Yes, if he won't move on, he won't move on in a run down his deal. But the most proactive and the best thing I think Liverpool can do is just bring in his replacement. It's as simple as that for me. So whether that is Marc Guehi, whether that is Marc Guehi and maybe Jarrell Hatter or somebody else, just go and bring through his replacement now. And let him worry about what happens after that, because Liverpool can only look after what we can look after. And if we can force him into a sale, that's absolutely true. So if we can't get him out, just bring in his replacement and move from there. And then we don't have to sit here and talk about all the anger and the hatred and the frustration, because, you know, just ignore. That's the way I'm going to look at it from now on. Liverpool should go out there now and bring in his replacement and work from that perspective. That's the grieving process. I know, that's kind of what I go through though, Rory, in these situations. You know, I go through it all. When you're losing a player from the club, you know, it's never easy. First of all, as I mentioned, I get angry about it, and then I get a little bit sad about it, and then I get a little bit frustrated, and then I start trying to figure out what's the best thing to do with it. So that's what I think we should do with this situation with Konate, because what it looks like is that Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona, Real Madrid, all willing to sign him on a free, but also, and I didn't know this, Rudiger's contract has one more year to go in it. So Real Madrid are clearly looking at this in the way that, okay, Antonio Rudiger's contract runs out in a year. If they can bring in Konate then at that time on a free, there we go. Oh, he's already changed the wording, has he? What's this one? 1 second. Is he backtracking? Yeah, no, that's what we had already, Mark. That's the same one. So, yeah, James Pearce, by the way, coming in with bad news, Pearce stuff already. So that youngster that was reported earlier on from, I think it was Anfield sector, and Peter O'Rourke, said Liverpool have agreed a deal to sign Blackburn teenage sensation Gabriel Schluter. The talent is set for a medical next week. So we all thought about that and said, cool, that sounds good. Let's go and have a little look around him and talk about it. But then out comes James Pearce. And James Pearce said, Liverpool looked at Blackpool teenager Gabriel Schluter and admire him, but told suggestions that a deal to buy him is either done or on the cards is wide of the mark. So let's wait and see. I always do wonder about James Pearce because he nails his colour to the mast and the most stupid things. This is something that he probably shouldn't have bothered, because if it does work out that Liverpool sign him, he's going to look foolish again for what upside? I don't get it. But we don't know what's going on with that situation, whether we are or aren't going to sign him. But either way, it's not too worrying because he's a youngster. But what we do know is Liverpool have signed Freddie Woodman, 28, Liverpool's new third-choice goalkeeper. He's made 327 career appearances, 44 appearances in 24-25 for Preston North End. Does count as homegrown, so that helps. Golden Glove Award at the Under-20 World Cup way back in 2017. And his second time being signed by Richard Hughes. And you can find that information on the Anfield Agenda X account. But there you go. So goalkeeper brought in. Obviously, we've seen Yaros go on loan. So Liverpool just covering their bases. They obviously feel that young Petchy is probably a little bit away from being ready for first team action if he needed to be called upon. So this was just a homegrown, kind of clever piece of business to make sure the goalkeeping department is well stocked. David said, thoughts on signing Freddie Woodman? Seems like one keeper too many, someone moving on. It's just to cover us for this season, I think. You know, young Petchy, like we've just said, he's come in, but he's going to be with the 21s. We know Yaros has gone on loan to Ajax. And then, of course, young Davies as well has moved on. So it just makes sense to just cover us for the season. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. It will be Allison and Georgie Mamardars really that'll be, you know, taking care of things for the season. But look, just covering all bases, I guess. And Richard Hughes obviously knows the goalkeeper, having signed him previously, and thinks it's thinks it's probably just a clever little piece of business. Alex Macklin said James Pearce hasn't got a clue what's going on. James Pearce used to be respected, said Wes Roberts. Look, I love James Pearce, by the way. And I will say this over and over again. He is one of the nicest guys in this industry by a long way. Lovely fella. But yeah, since he's moved over to the Athletic, it does feel like he's playing second fiddle to David Ornstein with most of the big stories over there. But yeah, I just don't know why he does it sometimes. It's just like, let's just insert some negativity into a conversation. I don't get it. But as I said, he is a really nice fella, James Pearce. So certainly not looking to run him down. I just find these things a little bit funny when he does them. Right, let's keep going because there's lots to talk about. Let's talk Lucho for a minute, ladies and gents. Let's talk about Lucho. Because Ben Jacobs has said this. Now, this is interesting. So we know that Luis Diaz, either according to Pipa Sierra, wants a pay rise or to leave. So Ben Jacobs has said this. Keep an eye on Luis Diaz. He's Al Nassr's top target. At the moment, Liverpool don't want to sell. But if an offer arrives between 85 and 100 million euro, you never know. Liverpool might change their mind and the decision will depend on Diaz. Al Nassr are going to be really active when we get into July. So, what do we think happens on this one? It doesn't look like Barcelona are going to have the money to come and get Luis Diaz and are going for Nico Williams. It's always been a case that Liverpool have been relaxed about the situation. As fans, like I've said, for me, more than happy if Luis Diaz stays. But it doesn't look like a new contract is going to be forthcoming anytime soon. So, what do we think happens here? Do you think there's any chance he goes to Al Nassr? Or do you think that he'll stay put at Liverpool and accept the fact that he probably isn't going to get a wage rise? It's a tough one because, like we said last night, I would say he deserves a pay rise. I dare say you would say he deserves a pay rise. But what you and I want, that's not going to move the needle on this one. Barcelona want Diaz or Saudi Arabia. I don't think they do anymore. It looks like Barcelona are trending in the direction of Nico Williams. Yeah, because even today Laporte was like, if the release clause needs to be paid, Barcelona have the capability to pay the release clause or a release clause. So I don't think Diaz is going to be on Barca's radar this summer, especially not at the price point. Like, they'd have to pay more for Diaz in a transfer fee than they would to pay Nico Williams' release clause. So I can't see that one happening. You have to take 85 plus from... Well, let's ask that. I feel like that's a really good first poll of the night. So let's ask that one. So what's that? Let's just say 85. Let's just say 75 million pound because it's somewhere between the 85 and 100 million. So should Liverpool take, let's say, 75 million pound for Diaz if offered? So, should Liverpool take £75 million for Luis Diaz if offered? Let's see what you guys think, yes or no, and we'll come back to it. Like I've said, I love Lucho. More than happy to have him at the club. Certainly wouldn't be rushing him out the door, but if a silly offer comes in, and I think, if you're talking £75 million, €90 million, I think we're getting into the realms of silliness. So, for me, I would do business at that if the offer came in and the player was willing to take it. Andy, how are we, dude? Evening, Craig. Long week in history. Thank you for keeping, longest week in history, Thank you for keeping us entertained this week. Also, Konate signs a new deal next week or sell. So, yeah, like I've said, I'm trying to be a little bit less aggressive about the Konate situation. I would like Liverpool to play hardball with it, but I know that sometimes people don't like that. There's a couple of things about this one to me, Andy. One, he isn't Trent, so he isn't that local boy that has 20 years at the club. And also, I don't think he's important to us either. So I'm relaxed about it, but my stance was initially, well, let's let him rot in the reserves and let's be aggressive about it. But I think we could do that without really talking too much about it by just bringing his replacement. Whether that is Marc, so be it. Just plan for the future anyway, like we have to do, and just introduce a new player in straight away and limit Konate's game time. That's the way I'd be dealing with it. What else we got? Konate is brutal. Get as much as you can from. I'd be sorry to see Diaz go. His talent and work rate is phenomenal, said Joe O'Neill. He had a very good season, and I looked into the numbers actually, and Luis Diaz last season had 13 goals in 36 Premier League appearances, 3 goals in 9 matches in the Champions League, 1 goal in 4 matches in the EFL Cup, totaling 17 goals in 50 appearances for the Reds last season. And now if you contrast that to Cody Gakpo, well, quite similar. Cody Gakpo had 10 Premier League goals, 5 EFL Cup goals, 3 Champions League goals, 18 goals in total in 49 appearances. And by the way, Bayern Munich also interested in both of these gentlemen. So I think for what it's worth, if Bayern do come to the table, I would imagine they will be likely to move for Cody Gakpo, because it seems like Max Erbel really does like Cody Gakpo. So wait and see what happens with that one. I don't see Liverpool being in a rush to sell either, to be honest. But, you know, Bayern are moving down through the list of targets that they seemingly are missing out on. I don't know if I brought this one up earlier on, but Daryl, thank you, bro. Up the Reds. Aaron said, losing Konate and Kwanzaa in the same window would be rough, but rather take some money and rebuild a centre-back depth chart. Konate, yes. Kwanzaa, not so much. You know, we didn't really utilise Kwanzaa much last season. But I just think if you bring in the replacement now, and let's say it is Marc Guehi as an example, because that looks like the direction this is trending, well, then you've got Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, Marc Guehi, and if Konate is still around, he's still around. If he's not around, he's not around. We go out and bring in a younger defender. So yeah, I think I get it. Some people are worried about too much change. This was a topic that came up last night, but I just ask about improvement. That's the way my mind works with these things. I look at it and think, is this going to improve us? And for what it's worth, I do think over the course of a season, Marc Guehi would be an improvement on Konate because he's more consistent. Like I said, my opinion is both of them at their best, Konate's better. But which one of them is a bit more rash? I would also say Konate. So if Liverpool feel that Marc Guehi is the future leader of the defence, bring him in now and then let Konate sit in the bench and struggle for minutes. If 80 million comes in for Diaz, we can sell him. Pick up Fofana from Lyon, 30 million relegation clause, and use the rest of the Konate money for a centre-back. Well, we've got the Kwanzaa money for a centre-back coming up, so don't forget that. That money is still going to be coming to us. And on that, there was a little bit on Jarrell, actually. Really quickly fly through this. It looks as if he could be Monday heading for a medical. So this said, Bill said that the 22-year-old could arrive in Leverkusen as early as Monday to sign a 5-year contract and complete the final stages of his transfer, which would, of course, then mean he could head off on holiday after playing the final of the Euro 21. So, looks like Monday could be a day we see Jarrell Kwanzaa go over for his medical and a few bits. Right. Any nice plans for the weekend, folks? Do let me know in the chat as well. I expect Liverpool to be fairly quiet with regards to incomings anyway until we get into July because, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, that's when the new PSR cycle starts. Pensby lad, how are we, dude? Said Konate is frail, soft tissue injuries. I would agree, but I'm working off memory here, so if I'm wrong, I apologise. But looking back to last season, I do feel like that was a season where we had less of those soft muscle injuries for Ibu. And whether that's down to Ruben Peters and Arne Slot and the work that they're doing on that side of things, or whether it was just luck, I don't know. Probably a mixture of both is the honest answer. But you are right. I just look at a mate and think, one thing that keeps coming up, Pensby lad, whenever I speak to any Liverpool fan about this is they all feel that he probably goes up 20% just from playing alongside Virgil, and that we would see anybody come in at a decent level of centre-back and be able to be enhanced by playing alongside Virgil. But if Konate wants to go over and continue to cover for Trent and Real Madrid on the right side of the defence, then, you know, it's his choice to do that as well. Tanya said, Diaz would improve with a raise, creating more productivity. He deserves to be rewarded for his performances when second fiddle. Robbo is on 160 per week and pushing a move that didn't develop. Look, again, I agree. And I don't think, Tanya, there would be many Liverpool fans that think that Lucho doesn't deserve a pay rise. But it doesn't seem to be forthcoming for whatever reason from Liverpool. So, you know, if Liverpool aren't going to sit down at the negotiating table with him, then, like I said, it feels like Liverpool are happy if he runs his contract down and leaves in 2 years, because they'll look like they've gotten a good deal out of it when you take into account the players' wages and stuff. So it is a weird one, because like I said, most of us feel he probably does deserve a pay rise. Well, I would dare to say all of us feel like he deserves a pay rise. Right, so question up for debate tonight. The first one is, should we take £75 million for Luis Diaz if it is on offer? Do let us know and do vote away. Goodbye Konate, said Kai Bell. Is Liverpool's wage bill high? Do they need to lower it? So our wage bill is approaching £400 million, according to the recent reports. Do we need to lower it? Honest answer is, I don't know, because I'm not aware of the accounting practices and how they work properly. So really, mate, I'm not the one to give you that answer. But we have lowered it significantly in some certain instances. If you look at the fact that, well, Trent's money has gone off the wage bill, but then you might say that's been taken up by Mohamed Salah and Virgil's extensions. But we had other high earners like Mane, Henderson, Firmino, Thiago, Matip, all move on in recent years as well. So, and even bringing in the likes of Wirtz, we're talking about him on similar wages to Thiago plus some extra bonuses. So, yeah, I'm not the boy to give you that qualification on the wages, whether it is an issue or not. But all I can say is that the last reports were approaching about £400 million for the wage bill. Golden Husky said, Nkapie swap for Elliott. Elliott doesn't want to go to Leverkusen, so that one's an on-runner. Guehi in for Konate. Haddo for €50 million would be good defence upgrade. We need strikers. Be traumatic if Jota starts. So, for the situation with Haddo, I think you're talking about €40 million as being the asking price from what I've seen, or at least the price being mentioned. Guehi in, Konate out. Well, for me, in my mind, it's Kwanzaa out, Guehi in, and then Haddo if we lose Konate. But yeah, I don't disagree with much that you've said there, my friend. Just Elliott doesn't want to go to Leverkusen. He's already turned down that opportunity. And I don't think that Leipzig are going to convince him either, to be honest. Now, if Dortmund were in, maybe you'd look at Dortmund a little bit differently. Paul Beer said, Guehi would be great for us. He was better than Stones at the Euros. He was really good for England at the Euros, mate. Very, very good. 24 as well, so right in the sweet spot there. Homegrown. In a similar situation to Konate contract-wise, meaning Liverpool probably look at this, as well as many other Premier League clubs, and feel like there's a potential bargain to be had there. So, yeah, that one, I would expect Liverpool to push ahead to try and get that deal with Crystal Palace sorted for Marc in early July. Joe Van Kampen said, I think we should get Hato in either way, also if Konate stays. Mate, I'm fully on board. Virgil is a huge fan of Joel Haddo, and he's been singing his praises to the club as well. So, yeah, for me, that would be a very, very, very good window. Moved on, let's just say, for argument's sake, we've moved on Kwanzaa, and then whatever happens with Ibu, as you said, go ahead. We should start planning for life without Ibu, even if he's still around, because we need to do that. We need to look for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And, while we can control certain aspects of the Konate situation, some of it we can't. So you can't force a player into a sale if he does want to be sold. But you can say to him, you won't be getting many minutes this year. And if he wants to go to the World Cup, well, we probably won't be able to help you with your quest to do that. Jaden said, I think Ibu re-signs. I hope he does, mate. I very much hope he does. But, let's see what happens. If he do, imagine this, if he does, mate, and we brought in Marc, and you've got Marc, Konate, Van Dijk and Gomez. I mean, that is an incredible collection of centre-backs in my humble opinion. So, if he re-signs, happy days. That would be great. But, it's been in discussion for quite a while now, and it looks as if Liverpool don't want to get to the initial number that Konate would like as a base salary. Santino, how are we, sir? Always lovely to see you in. Said, my issue with Lucho is not a huge pay rise, but the years he's going to want. So, what is he now? 28, Lucho? Yeah, I can see maybe max Liverpool sticking one more year on the end of that. So, 3 years, maybe with an option of another one, because he's got 2 years to go as things stand. So if he got a pay rise, I would imagine Liverpool would go 3 + 1. But let's wait and see. just give Ibu the same contract Ronaldo got. Just one less staff member, and I think would be grand. You know, the 16 was a bit excessive, but if we could give him just 15 staff members and, you know, maybe 3 million quid's worth of private jet hires, that was ridiculous. That contract for Ronaldo. Have you seen the video? Nope, Dave's taken that one out. I was halfway to reading it, Dave. When Arne Slot left Feyenoord the season after Feyenoord had a lot of injuries, says enough. But look, as we said, mate, Ruben Peterson himself had a 90% availability rate for players when they were at Feyenoord, and that is incredibly high. Do you think he'd be happy? Who's he, Aidan? I don't understand the full context of what we're talking about, my man. Sarah Halliday, how are we, Sarah? Said Malik Fofana and Isak. Well, another day, another lot of Isak stories, and another day, another change of tune from Newcastle. So lately, well, let's talk about this Isak story first. We'll go through them as they've appeared during the day. So let's start with this one, which comes from Shields Gazette. They said Newcastle would rather sell Isak abroad instead of doing business with domestic sides in England. Now, absolutely understand that thought process. I mean, if I was in their shoes, I'd want to move a player abroad rather than to a Premier League club as well. But there's a bit of a problem. Nobody has the money except Liverpool, because Real Madrid don't need a number 9 at the minute and won't be spending that money on Isak. Paris Saint-Germain, they're pretty much sorted, although, again, don't think they'd be spending it. So where else is he going to move to? He's not going to go to the Saudi Pro League at this point of his career because he wants to win big European trophies. So I understand it. But again, what's interesting about this is the reports aren't saying 100% categorically he isn't for sale, it isn't happening. There tends to be a bit of variation here. For all the talk we hear about Newcastle not wanting to sell him, price tags are doing the rounds. Preferring to move him abroad are doing the rounds. So I think just keeping an eye on this one because it isn't going away. Rodrigo said, the disrespect to Lucho is massive from so-called fans. Is it, mate? Is it? Or are you just throwing your fucking toys out the pram because you disagree with someone? What disrespect is Lucho getting? Because all I've seen is people say they'd be happy for him to stay, but if a crazy offer comes in, they take it. So I think you're confusing your own beliefs and what you want to happen with Lucho with disrespect, because I've not seen any disrespect towards Lucho. But again, one thing I won't put up with is dickheads like you coming in to belittle other people in our community by thinking that you're clever. Either come in, show some damn respect, or piss off. It's as simple as that. So I've chosen piss off for you because, again, you're not clever. You're not impressing anybody. Oh, our so-called fans, and here's me, the super fan. Mate, there's enough top breads around. We don't need another one, so take your shitty attitude and fuck off elsewhere, please, because I'm not listening to it. I keep telling you, I have worked long and hard enough and built my community to a place where I'm not having anybody come in and belittle the rest of them with their so-called fans. You know, people are allowed to have a different opinion to you, right? They're allowed to have a different opinion, whether you like it or not. So if you want to contribute, then jump in and say something like, well, I understand what other people are saying. I would respectfully disagree, and I think that Luis Diaz should get X or Y. But you didn't, so bye-bye. Do you think Klopp being at Red Bull now will have an effect on Harvey Elliot joining them? Not really, no. I think whatever Harvey will do will be what's best for his career. Simple as that. You know, he needs to go and play football, and I'm really happy that he's going to have a whole host of options because he deserves that. He's a really good kid. It's just unlucky that he won't get enough game time at Liverpool, but he's shown at this Euros with the 21s quite what he can do. And as we said, you've got Brighton, West Ham, Fulham, Newcastle, RB Leipzig, Leverkusen, so many clubs in for him and not really being put off by Liverpool's £40 million price tag. So yeah, I think he'll just pick whichever one he thinks is best for his continued development, and of course more game time as well. Unknown user said, to be honest, I love Craig crash outs because they're funny but very true. I just am massive on respect. It's so simple. I don't understand why people can't just Show some respect to people. I don't get it. You know, I know this community deserve that respect and have earned it. So people that come in to try and be a smart arse, I just don't have the time for them. There's plenty of other communities that can go on out there and share their toxic nonsense, but I don't want it in here. You guys deserve better. Right, let's keep going. Virginia, how are we, my friend? And thank you so much for your support. Said, when Klopp stopped Konate from travelling back to France between matches in 22-23 season, the injury started to lessen. I do, and again, I'm working off some memory here, Virginia, but I do have a recollection of injuries being more prevalent when he was going back and forth, like you've said, to France games. He did seem to come back with quite a few niggles or strains, or maybe he was going over, tired and a little bit sore anyway, and it was just being exacerbated with the travelling and all that stuff. But I think there's probably something to what you've said, Virginia. I think 40 million for Elliott is a steal. Quality player, said Wesley. He's he's an excellent player. It's just really unlucky that the way things have worked. And you know, maybe if we hadn't signed Wirtz in this window and he was doing what he's doing at the Euros, maybe Arne would kind of have thought, okay, well, let's give him a little bit. Let's give him more time. Let's give him more minutes. But with Wirtz coming in, I just think unfortunately it's going to see him move abroad, or excuse me, leave the club. What about Semenyo, said Stefan. Now, I might be wrong on this, mate, but I want to say Spurs have been interested in Semenyo. Liverpool's name was mentioned with him going back a while, but one of the problems about buying Premier League to Premier League is the price. You've seen it already. Like United have paid 62.5 million, which was the Cunha release clause. They're probably going to have to go over 60 million to buy Mbomo from Brentford. So when you're buying Premier League to Premier League like that, it's very difficult to get a decent price. And Semenyo, they're talking 65, 70 million quid as a price tag. So I just don't think Liverpool would look at that and think that there's value in it. You know, look how long and hard they looked at paying the 40 million for Milos Kerkez, who was, you know, the ideal successor to Andy Robertson. So yeah, I think Spurs, if I'm not mistaken. And then you've got Arsenal and a couple of others looking at Eze as well as a possible option on the left side, which, what age is Eze? In my head, I want to say Eze is 26 or 27. So it's not the type of deal I expect Liverpool to make. I think we'd be looking for a younger, wider, versatile forward if we were to go into the market. 26, 27 people are saying, yeah, I don't see Liverpool spending that much money. But if Arsenal get him, they're getting a good player. There's no denying that. Eze's had a brilliant season. And certainly people thought when Elise had left Palace, maybe they'd lost a lot of that spark and creativity. But between him and Mateta as well this season, Palace have been quite good in attack. Paul Beer said under 21's great shop window for Elliott. Yeah, and he's shown what he can do. Like, he really is one of the players, if not the player of that tournament so far. Jamie said, if we let Konate run his contract down and go to Madrid, then we become Madrid's bitch. Sell any player that doesn't look like he's committed. I mean, I agree with you, Jamie, but you can't force a player to go. If there's no way that Liverpool can make Konate go. You know, what we can do is tell him quite quickly that if he wants to go to the World Cup, then he'd be better served moving, because we're not going to be the ones to give him the game time over the next year. And if he wants to go with Didier Deschamps to play in that World Cup, well, then he's going to need to be playing regularly. So that's the way I think we could deal with it. But, you know, a sale would be ideal for everyone. Now, if Real Madrid do come to the table with an offer, I'd be interested to see how Liverpool react to that, even if it's an initial low offer like the £25 million that we were hearing that they might be willing to pay. But it's just not a good situation, is it, that we're in again? And I'm sure that the club are getting a little bit fed up of it. But then again, we can't absolve the club of any responsibility, because, of course, we could have renewed his contract earlier, or we could have made a firmer decision earlier on it. Ali Abdallah said, if Eze is worth over 60 million, then Diaz is definitely worth more. Yes and no. So you've got the homegrown aspect, which does count for a bit when you're talking about Premier League money. But what I would say is I agree with you. Like, we're talking about £75 million as a potential number for Luis Diaz. And again, I got to reiterate this, for what it's worth, I would keep both Diaz and Gakpo this season. I don't see the need to upset the apple cart. The left side of our attack, in my opinion, is very good. So I'm happy if they both stay. But like we've said, it's not going to stop seeing links to the likes of Al Nassr, Bayern Munich. I mean, on that, let's talk about the stories today. So Christian Falk, or CF Bayern, said Bayern are now looking at Cody Gakpo and Luis Diaz after transfer struggles. So yeah, they've had a bit of a mare so far in this window, looking for that attacker. Obviously, they thought Wirtz was in the bag. No, he ended up at Anfield. They thought they could go after Nico Williams. Nope, he's going to Barcelona by the looks of it. Then there was talk of Rafael. I actually don't know what happened there. And now they're looking at Cody Gakpo and Luis Diaz. So I've no idea what to expect on the left side of our attack, but I'm calm about it because, one, I like both the guys that we have, and two, if the worst came to the worst and we had to replace one of them, we'd probably get a very significant fee, and I'm sure the club will have a list of targets that they'd like to bring in, maybe a little bit younger than the likes of Diaz. But Gakpo, I'd be surprised if Liverpool would do business for. What do you think about Xavi Simons? Rumours about him leaving RB Leipzig have been quiet lately. Do you think he would be a perfect replacement for Lucho? Wouldn't be my one. Wouldn't be the one I'd be looking for. No, I'd be far more. I know people don't like me saying this, but I'd still prefer to look at Anthony Gordon, or even young Fofana, or Bakayoko from PSV, or somebody else. I don't see it in Xavi Simons. I just don't see a €75 million player there yet. Ivan, how are we, dude? Nice to see you. Thoughts on our signing so far? Brilliant, Ivan, mate. Brilliant. Would like to see us get the centre forward and centre back positions boxed off, mate. But if I sat here and complained, I'd be an absolute clown, wouldn't I? I love the way Sky are trying to push this, by the way, over 200 million spent by Liverpool, because they're kicking in the Georgi Marmadashvili deal, which was, of course, agreed last year, but they love to just try and hype up Liverpool's spending. So, yeah, look, Marmadashvili, interested to see how he gets on. Wirtz, wow, cannot wait. Frimpong, really exciting, great options then with Bradley. And then Kerkez is just sensational, dude. So, what do you think? Let me know what you think. I'm sure you're quite happy with it as well. Rodrigo and Gordon are the only correct answers to Gakpo and Diaz replacement. Oh, look, Rodrigo would be brilliant, but I just don't see Liverpool wanting to go into Greece, Real Madrid's palms when they're again playing silly beggars with us and looking to take another player on a free contract off us. So I can't see Liverpool going in there and striking a deal with Madrid for what they believe Rodrigo would be worth. But I don't disagree on the quality of the player. Really good. Right, where were we at? Where are we at in this poll? Right, so we need to get to 2,000 votes. That's our hope when we do these polls. So should Liverpool take £75 million for Luis Diaz if offered? Now, the reason we've put that number in there was because there was reports today that suggested from Ben Jacobs. Let me read it out to you once again. So Ben Jacobs said, keep an eye on Luis Diaz. He's Al Nassr's top target at the moment. Liverpool don't want to sell, but if an offer arrives between 85 and €100 million, so 70 to 85 million pound, you never know. Liverpool might change their mind, and the decision will depend on Diaz, Al Nassr, and they're going to be really active in July, he said about Al Nassr. And of course, Ronaldo just signed on a new deal there as well. And they want to move out Mane, so they're looking for somebody on that left. And I would dare say we'd probably get more money from the likes of Al Nassr than we would from Bayern or anybody else. But again, it just comes down to what the club and what Diaz want to do. Wayne said, obviously very excited about getting Wirtz, but Kerkez has given me the best vibe and energy at the moment. Did you watch the full interview? I did. I watched that, and I watched the signing day vlog of Wirtz. And yeah, just Kerkez is just a machine. You know, watching the highlights back of him. Do you know one interesting thing I picked up from the interview that I think kind of explains this explosiveness and this brilliant cardio that he has? He was a swimmer. Once I heard that him and his family were, big into swimming and that he was a serious swimmer when he was younger, that made it all make sense to me because we know how fit those guys are, and you can see the explosiveness that he has and the great cardio that he has. Just look back to that goal that he assisted for, was it Tavernier? The one with the incredible burst against Newcastle down the left-hand side. He's just explosive, and I'm so excited by him as well. It's like the best Andy Robertson replacement I think we could ever have hoped for. Elwyn. Does Slot deserve credit with convincing signings? Oh, mate, 100% yes. Stephen Shopping, thank you for gifting a membership as well. 100% yes, Elwyn. If you listen to every single player that we've signed, especially Wirtz, they talk about the vision that Richard Hughes and Arne Slot has set out to them. And that has stood out to me over and over again. As soon as Wirtz came out of that meeting with Arne Slot, that was it. He said, that's where I'm going. Make this move happen. Tell Bayern thank you, but no thank you. I'm going to Liverpool. He must be incredibly well prepared and incredibly good in these situations. So yes, full credit to himself. Full credit to Richard Hughes as well. They're both playing a blinder in this window. Simple as that, in my opinion. And then, of course, we have great options now. So we've got two really good right-sided fullbacks. One in Bradley, who's still developing. One in Frimpong, who can also maybe help cover for Mo at the AFCON time. So, exciting. Really, really exciting stuff. If we can get the centre-forward position and the centre-back boxed off, wow, who knows what's possible next season then. Stephen Shupping said, hey Craig, hope all is well. If we sold Diaz for 75 million and brought in Rafa Leao, Victor Osimhen and had Mo at right wing, that would be frightening front three. I just don't think, Stephen, Arne would have anything to do with Rafa Leao. I just don't see the work rate in Rafa Leao. There's no doubt about the talent. The dude's a baller, no doubt about that. But it's the off-the-ball stuff that I just don't see him fitting in with the way Arne would want us to play. Like, Luis Diaz, in my opinion, is always incredibly good at helping out defensively and with our press as well. I just don't see the same from Rafa Leao, which is why I don't think he'd be one that Liverpool would look at. Osimhen, though, that's still the wild card for me in the striker sense because he's not gone anywhere yet. We know that, I can't remember which Saudi Pro League club is, Al Hilal, or one of them, are still looking to bring him, but he hasn't said yes to it. He said no so far. Galatasaray would like to make it permanent, but it hasn't happened. Napoli, obviously, are open to selling, so it is a weird one. You think with the lack of absolute top-notch strikers out there and so many clubs looking for one, that somebody would have snapped up Victor Osimhen at this point. Right, so we are very close to the 2,000 votes. We just need about 70, 74, 75 more. So if you can, just give us a quick vote. And then we'll get back into some of the news. Shrimpy, how are we, dude? Shrimpy Dick? I'm in that club, definitely, mate. Shout out to JC if you're watching as well, my Shrimpy friend. Fofana is one of the top to go for at left wing. His progressive end and his stats are top notch, albeit at a lower league. And also, mate, loves the idea of coming to the Reds. Remember his agent saying that that's the dream move for him. So, yeah. I don't disagree with you, mate. He certainly looks like a big talent and we would know all about him anyway. Abdullah Ali said, bro, do you think that many changes or too many changes may affect us next season? If Konate leaves, Diaz, Nunes, and we bring in other players, that might be a lot of changes. I mean, I don't think you're on your own, mate. There's been a few people who've made that suggestion this summer, and I understand it, but the way I look at it is not a lot of them are probably going to be spine of the team changes. So, you've got Alisson, you've got Virgil, you've got Salah, you've got the midfield boxed off. I feel like the spine of the team is still intact. The two fullback positions, well, look, last season we all said we need to change the left-back situation, and we have. Trent kind of forced the hand on the right back situation. Darwin, respectfully, just hasn't been doing it for Liverpool. But I don't think we're at too much changes yet. So we did ask this simple question the other day. Do you think if Marc Guehi comes in, that he would be an upgrade on Ibrahima Konate? And yes, was the answer. So I don't think we're quite there yet. Personally, I don't think we were at the too much change. We knew there was going to be somewhere between 5 and 7 first team signings this summer. Right, we've got to 2,000 votes. So should Liverpool take £75 million upwards for Diaz if offered? 87% say yes. 87%. Pretty convincing, pretty one-sided, and thank you to everyone. Craig say, happy birthday, Hamza. Happy birthday, Hamza. How are we, bro? Happy birthday to you. It was my wife's birthday 2 days ago. So, happy birthday, my man. Right, let's get into some more of the news. Craig, left winger poll with Rodrigo, Gordon, Yildiz, Fofana and Simons. We can't put that many in. You can only put 4. And also, there's no chance we pay the money to Real Madrid for Rodrigo. I think the other one, Yildiz, I don't think Juventus will sell, but I do. Do you know what? I like your suggestion, mate. So let's go with it. But maybe we'll rejig some of the names a little bit if that's all right. So pick a left winger to replace one if they leave. Right, so let's go Gordon. Let's go Fofana. We'll throw Simons in there because I think a lot of you guys have been mentioning him quite a bit, so that seems fair to throw him in. I need one more, ladies and gents. Give me one more option. It's not going to be Barcola. I already seen that name in the mix for a couple of reasons. One, they don't want to sell him, and 2, I don't like him. I've got Fofana. Barcolas is not happening. What do I think of Gyökeres? That he won't be coming to Liverpool, but that his name has been linked a little bit. But I just don't... Adeyemi? We passed Adeyemi? Bakayoko. There you go. That's the one. Bakayoko. Thank you. There you go. Bakayoko. Perfect. Yeah, Rodrigo would just be wages and the selling price. Yildiz would be great. I like him, big fan. Every time I've watched him play for Juventus, he's looked good. But I don't know if they'd sell. It looks as if, by the way, Juventus have won the race to sign Leo Strike, Jonathan David. It looks like he'll be going to Juventus based off what I was reading today. Anyway, what's this one? Ooh. So, Florian Plettenberg just posted this to say Fenerbahce are now pushing to sign John Duran with immediate effect. The 21-year-old striker from Al Nassr is very open to returning to Europe and signing for Fenerbahce. New sporting director is in Colombia for negotiations over a deal. Jose Mourinho wants him, and there have been direct talks between him and Duran. Fenerbahce now working on an agreement. See, this again would be where if Liverpool wanted to, they could almost use Diaz as a negotiating standpoint to try for Duran. And I don't understand why we're not in the mix for a loan for John Duran. Fair enough if you don't think he's worth buying outright, but on a loan, because Al Nassr want to loan him out, I think that would be worth a punt, personally. Have we gone for Guehi so we can get a non-homegrown winger? I think we've gone for Guehi for a couple of reasons. One, that last year of his contract. Homegrown doesn't hurt, like you've said. But also, he's a really good defender. And ready to take that step up, I think, as he won't sign a new contract with Palace. So, I just think it just makes sense. Ali said, Craig, I believe Liverpool already has a plan on the striker they want, be it Isak, Ekitike, or maybe no striker this summer. If they wanted Isak, in my opinion, they would have gone from before Wirtz. They wouldn't, and let me tell you why, Ali. Now, I'm not saying they don't want them, mate. I agree with you on the interest, but a couple of things. One, Wirtz was more time sensitive and doable because he had to make that decision. But with regards to Isak, he's on holiday, and Newcastle haven't even had a chance to start talking to him yet properly about contract extension. So that was always going to be one that would have been a bit later. And with the new PSR cycle starting in July, it would give Liverpool again a bit more breathing room if they wanted to go very big at the start of this new cycle and plough a load of money into Isak. But it's going to take Isak to give an indication that he wants out of Newcastle, I think. But we'll talk about that more in a few minutes because it hasn't gone away today. The stories are still out there. Stevie Boy said, was Klopp too loyal to certain players? Thoughts? Yes, he was. But it's a very difficult thing to be critical of somebody for loyalty. Yeah, I think he was. Like, he went to bat for Henderson as an example, and that didn't work out well for Jurgen, the way Henderson then pushed his way out. Yeah, I think he was, but I find it really difficult to be critical of anybody for loyalty. But, you know, I think all managers have their favourites and ones that they probably give a little bit more wiggle room to. Casper, how are we, dude? Long time no see. Nice to see you. Konate out, Rodrigo in, swap plus cash. I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be against it, mate. You know, Rodrigo's brilliant. I just don't see Liverpool going to that level and the wages that he'd be looking for. And I don't think they're going to want to make life easy for Madrid either. But I wouldn't be against it personally. Richard Hughes would know if Isak wasn't available. Besties with Eddie Howe and Hughes. Oh, Sean, I agree. There seems to be something about this Isak story. It's just not going away. And today, kind of not really Isak related, but not Isak related, Brighton have rejected 2 offers in excess of £50 million for João Pedro. Newcastle and another unnamed Premier League club have both had bids rejected in the past few days. Newcastle are expected to improve their offer, writes Alex Crook. Now, maybe Newcastle just want to bring in another option up top, or maybe they're preparing the groundwork just in case. So, what do we think on that one? And then we had this one from Ben Jacobs on TalkSport, who said, in July, I think from Liverpool's perspective, they'll still work out the Isak situation. Liverpool are not wanting to give up on Isak. You can't move now because the situation with Newcastle isn't clear, and Liverpool will want to understand, is there an opportunity to move for Isak? And if there is, of course, they'll place a bid. That will be the priority to see whether that dream target is feasible. So again, day after day, we're still seeing stories linking us with moves for Isak in July. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see what happens on that one. Chiesa for Yildiz, said Tony Hoare. Look, mate, I like Yildiz. Very much so. Just not seeing anything to suggest it's likely. But again, like I said, I think he's a good player. Right, so Christian Falk, in his column for Caught Offside, said that Liverpool could make a move for Hugo Ekitike once they've sold Darwin Núñez. The journalist said there is no completely new update on Ekitike. Frankfurt continue to insist on €100 million, but it's questionable whether they'll get it. Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United still have Ekitike on their radar. Liverpool could make a move once they've sold Darwin Núñez. United are the only club to have spoken to Frankfurt so far about Ekitike, and there have been no negotiations or even an offer as things currently stand. Tiger 96, how are we, mate? Said, how many more signings do you think we'll make? So what are we saying? We've got in Mamadashvili, Pechi, Wirtz, Frimpong, and Kerkez. So 2 or 3. I think there will be a forward, but maybe there will be a centre forward and a forward. So at least one attacking option and a centre back. So I would say minimum 2 more, maybe 3. That's my guess. Which would be what? If you take out Pechi and Mamadashvili, that would be 5-6 signings, which I think is about right. Is about what we need. And Woodman, yes, but you know, I don't really. I'm more thinking about people who are actually going to be playing. But yeah, I think centre back, centre forward, and if we can get a centre forward, maybe a versatile young player who can play across the front line. Guehi will likely come in, Paul. I agree. If I had 50 quid, I often use this analogy where I said if I had 50 quid in my hand, I would put it on Marc at the minute. Yes, I would. AD said we should get Osimhen or Ekitike. Isak won't happen, and we need a striker ASAP. So there's a couple of things about that. One, we need to move on Darwin Núñez first before Liverpool commit to buying a striker, which I think is the right thing to do. So we need to sort that out because he's got a significant enough wage, well, not at the very, very top of our wage list. So you need to sort that out. Then, as I mentioned, the PSR cycle would give us a bit more ability to go big if we needed to. But the situation with Osimhen is a really interesting one, AD, because if we wanted him, you'd imagine there's definitely something to be done with Darwin going in the opposite direction. Whether it's a part exchange or whatever. Even just taking Kerkez out of the conversation for a minute. If Liverpool wanted to sign Osimhen, what's his release clause? Is it 70 million euro? Something around that mark? If they could just agree on the valuation of Darwin, I'm sure there'd be a way to pay the difference to Napoli for Osimhen. So you'd imagine that would be a straightforward deal to do if they wanted to. But what we don't know yet is, outside of Isak, who Liverpool really are wanting to sign. Ekitike, Liverpool are looking at it and probably not rushing because they know he's also not rushing at the minute. He's waiting to see how the striker market develops and what opportunities present themselves to him. Osimhen, we've just discussed that one, and it's there if Liverpool wanted to do it. So yeah, I don't know at this point. I've said to you, I'm not going to be the guy who tells you who the centre forward option is because I don't have any information on it. Liam said, change is fine if it's for the better. They train to such a level and tactics are so sophisticated, gelling shouldn't be an issue. Especially if it's somebody like Marc, let's say, who knows the league, who would have played with a few of the players on England duty. I don't think that's going to be a major issue yet if he came in. Yonela Kabini said, Yohan Bakayoko would be sensational backup for Mo Salah should Salah go to the AFCON. What do you think? He's a name that's been a long-standing link to Liverpool Football Club. Bakayoko's been talked about with us for about 18 months that I can remember. Was impressed by him when we played PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League. Spurs, I think, were another name that have been mentioned with Bakayoko, but I agree. I think it's certainly a feasible option. And by the way, let me say this. The chat has been incredible. So as you know, a while back, we took it off. We put it onto members-only chat. And then we brought it back in slowly. But you guys have been awesome. The chat has been... There's only one or two dickheads in there every so often. But I want to just say thank you to you guys for the respectful and helpful way the chat is. Because it's great. The conversation's flowing and people are giving really good opinions. And it's brilliant. So big up to all of you for that. I'm having a ball with the chat. I love it. It's back to where it used to be, and I thank you sincerely all for your great input. Mr. H and friends, always lovely to see you, bro. Right. No one's watched Bakayoko then. I've only seen a little bit, mate. A little bit. Like I said, I've only really seen him when we played against them in a couple of highlight reels, but wouldn't sit here and lie to you and say I watched PSV or the Eredivisie week in and week out. Gary said, been on here for a few weeks. I haven't seen any you-know-whats. You're right, mate. It's, as I said, it's been brilliant lately. Back to really enjoying everything and, yeah, just loving it. Does any of the June 30th money carry through to the next window? So it's just a different PSR cycle. So Liverpool's accounts, as in our internal accounts, if I'm not mistaken, are May, but the PSR cycle ends the end of June. So we're into a new 3-year cycle from July the 1st. So I think that and the fact that players, the likes of Isak, won't really start even talking with Newcastle about his future until he returns from holiday. So we got to wait for that to happen as well. Rob, how are we, dude? Frimpong weaker than Trent as a footballer. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to both. Frimpong, I would say, will track back and work harder. Trent is one of the best ball strikers you're going to see with an incredible range of passing. But it's difficult to know really what to expect yet from Frimpong, because we don't know how Arne's going to utilise him. But I think Frimpong, at least the vibe I'm getting from the young man since he's come to the club, has been that he's going to work his ass off, and is really up for the challenge, and I can't wait to see him. I've enjoyed everything I've seen from Jeremy Frimpong. I've liked the aura that he has around him. I like the confidence that he has. I like that he understands it's not going to be easy at Liverpool. He's going to have to really work hard for his place, and that the expectations here from us and him is to win. So let's just wait and see. But I think between Frimpong and Connor Bradley, I think we've got two very good options for that side. Fantasy Bengal said, I've seen that we will play 3 at the back next year. So this has come up in conversation on streams over the past week, but my answer to that would be we don't have the personnel to play it. We don't have enough centre-backs to play that system. We just don't. So, let's say, for instance, whatever it is, we've got 4. Because that's seemingly the way. We've got 4. I think if you're going to play with a back 3, you need 5 or 6 centre-backs because you need cover for every position. I'm not saying it might not happen in a game or two, but my own personal belief is I just don't think we have the personnel to... Eze isn't 25, by the way. Cool to be clever. He's definitely older than that. I just don't think we have the personnel to play a back 3. I don't think we have enough players. LFC Love said, huge respect to the loyal chat members. Brilliant. Yes, much love, my man. They're brilliant. And like you said, much respect to them. Neil Thompson said, I've been so impressed with all the new players' interviews. They will have such an impact on an already class team. Yeah. You look at Wirtz and he's so German, isn't he? He's just so German. Just measured, calm, poised. Just very German. That's what I would say about my take on Wirtz anyway. Matt said, I've never had a name on the back of a jersey, but I have a funny feeling I'm going to get a Frimpong. I don't blame you. He's a very easy guy to like, isn't he? For me, I wouldn't get one either, but if I was get one at the minute, I'd probably get Maka on the shirt. Will I be doing streams for pre-season? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm probably going to swerve the ones in Hong Kong and Japan because, that's peak Craig sleeping time. 10 a.m. That's not in my wheelhouse. So I may swerve those ones. I'll do the Preston one. Obviously do the 2 games we'll be playing against Athletic Bilbao. But yeah, I don't know if I'll be doing those early morning ones, mate. I might have to wait a little bit closer. I don't go to sleep till about 6, 7 a.m. So for me, yeah, that will be just a no sleep night all the way through. Right, so keep voting away, by the way. We said pick a left winger to replace to replace one if they leave. So one game I definitely won't be doing next season is the United game. Because as I mentioned, I'm going to it. So it was a tough call because obviously that's such a huge game on the channel as well. But Brian got that ticket to the Sevens Lounge and I just feel like I got to get over. It's a bucket list thing for me. So that's one game this season I will be missing is the Manchester United game at Anfield because I'll be going to it. Brad, how are we, Brad Witt? Said, I hope we win the league and Arsenal come in second again next year. I love the Arteta whinging and the Arsenal fans complaining. Their tears are delicious. I'm right with you. Get Connor to do the Man United watch along. So I've mentioned it to him. He just doesn't want to do the watch alongs. He doesn't mind doing little videos, but he just said he doesn't feel up to doing the watch alongs for that long. And again, happy to do whatever. If Connor wants to do them, brilliant. If he doesn't, I'm not going to push him on it either. Do a vlog of the game. Oh, definitely will. I'll be definitely doing stuff in and around it, 100%. It just won't be a watch along, but that's the weekend of this as well, our last ever show. So that's why I'm saying, what a weekend that's going to be. If you're thinking of going to the United game, well, why not grab a ticket and come and see us as well? We'll be at the Hot Water Comedy Club Sunday, 19th of October for our last ever stage show, the weekend of the United game. What was your job before Anfield Agenda? So I was on disability for mental health and psychological reasons for a few years. Before that, I had loads of different jobs, to be honest with you. I worked as a taxi driver. I worked in online gaming. I worked in a car park. I worked in a factory for like supplements and health and nutrition. I had loads of shitty jobs over the years. And then I kind of started this out of loneliness. I started social media. I went on to Twitter to meet fellow Liverpool fans because, you know, my mental health was awful. I wasn't leaving the house. I was just housebound. So I reached out on social media to people. Then I start writing some articles with Anfield Index, and I was doing them under an alias because at the time I didn't want to use my real name. So then I started writing some articles and they start doing okay. Again, I would never claim to be a journalist or anything because my grammar and all is terrible, but I know my football, so they were doing all right. Then Anfield Index used to have a thing what they called, which was the Writers Podcast, where anybody who contributed articles, we come once a week and we do a podcast and we discuss all the articles that were talked about during the week. So I did that for a little bit. And then I decided I'd like to start my own podcast. So I did that. I learned how to edit and stuff. Somebody helped me out, Nish helped me out with that. So I learned how to edit a podcast and all that stuff. Then Connor said, try YouTube. So then we went to YouTube and here we are, 7 years later. Dream job, life changed, just still doesn't feel real. Oh my God, you lucky man, Craig. Hopefully we'll somehow pull off a miracle and beat you lot at Anfield. Sorry, but not sorry. Oh, I can't believe I'm going, Shane. So Brian just happened to be over in Ireland and was up early that day when the hospitality tickets went on sale. I woke up to a message from Brian saying, I hope you're free for this game because I've got tickets to the Sevens Lounge and love you to come. And that's all the invitation I needed. I was all over it. It's a weird one though, Shane, because I'm coming home from holiday and I'm getting into Dublin Airport after midnight and then my plane leaves at 6 a.m. to go to Liverpool. So I'm not even leaving the airport. I'm coming back from Turkey, going out to the car park, swapping over bags and coming back into the airport and going to Liverpool for that weekend. I can't wait. It's going to be incredible. Why don't you tell him how you really feel? Is this going back to something else? Michael said, I remember when you started, you were awkward as feck. You're a veteran YouTuber now. Um, yeah, I was awkward, but I would say I was more low energy as well when I started. Like I often look back at early streams just to, you know, kind of see how far along we've all come. And I don't know if I'd say I was awkward, but I was definitely a bit more mundane is probably a word I'd use. And yeah, look, as I said, here we are now, all these years later. Don't believe where the channel's at, 328,000 subscribers. It's nuts. Right, where are we at with this poll? Right, we still need some more votes on it. We'll call it a 1,500 because it's a bit quieter. So pick a left winger to replace one if they leave. Gordon, Fofana, Xavi Simons or Bakayoko. Craig, I just arrived at Turkey 2 hours ago and just watching you. Nice, Nasser. Have a great trip. I always enjoy my time over in Turkey. And yeah, going for 11 nights in October during the international break. Chris said, big up, been watching since 30k subs. Wow. Wow, thank you, man. Appreciate that. What's been the favourite game that you've been to? Istanbul. Sorry, an eye lash in my eye. Istanbul was incredible. I was at Athens, but we lost that. But I enjoyed the derby, the 4-0 derby win. I went over to that with my mate Ken. It was the one where Lukaku did his ACL. We missed a penalty in it as well, and we still beat them 4-0. That was a brilliant game. Will there be updates from Turkey? No, absolutely none. I always book it during the international break, so I probably have a few pre-recorded videos ready to go out. But no, my missus would kill me if I wasn't present with the family for those 11 days. You never acknowledged my comments from Atlanta. The fuck do you want me to do with that? Like, one, what Atlanta? What? Two, don't know who you are, and three, sorry if I missed a few comments, but you may notice, mate, there's over 2,500 people in the chat commenting there, so can't really get to every single one. Will there be a Premier League predictions this season? Yes, there will. There's a few different new pieces we have ready for coming up this season, but yeah, Premier League predictions. I should have done them a little bit earlier, but it took us a while to get into it. But we did the last, I think, 3 months of last season, and I always enjoyed them. I won't lie to you. They died on their arse. They didn't get many views. Of all the videos we do, that was probably the one that did the worst, but I enjoyed doing them, so yeah, probably do it again. But I want to make it a league table this time, and I want to make it a bit more fun and interactive, so still trying to think with Connor about how we can do that in the best way. Right, let's get cracking. More news that I want to get through that I haven't had a chance to read out yet, so bear with me. And we'll go through it all. Right, where to start with? Let's start with a bit of an update on Darwin. So Graham Bailey has said, Liverpool have made it clear to Napoli what they want to recoup, and it is a sizable fee for the sale of Darwin Núñez. Núñez has spoken with Napoli, and they are his preferred destination despite interest from around Europe and Saudi Arabia. Then we went through all the Elliott stories. Then we had the story from Christian Falk that said Bayern are now looking at Cody Gakpo and Luis Diaz after transfer struggles. So that's why we have the poll on the chat at the minute, which is, if we did lose a left winger, which one of these guys would you like to see come in? Then we went through, what's this one? We've done that Ben Jacobs one, where Ben Jacobs said, in July, I think from Liverpool's perspective, they'll still work out the Alexander Isak situation. Liverpool are not wanting to give up on Isak. You can't move now because the situation with Newcastle isn't clear, and Liverpool will want to understand, is there an opportunity to move for Isak? And if there is, of course, they will place a bid. That will be the priority to see if their dream target is feasible. Then we spoke about Ben Jacobs posting and crediting Alex Crook that said Brighton have rejected 2 offers worth in excess of £50 million for João Pedro. Newcastle and another unnamed Premier League club have both had bids rejected in the past few days. Newcastle are expected to improve their offer. Then there was the Christian Falk column and Caught Offside that said Liverpool could make a move for Hugo Ekitike once they've sold Darwin Núñez. He went on to say there's no new information on it. Frankfurt continue to insist on €100 million. Chelsea, Liverpool and United have him on their radar. Then we went to the Daily Mail that said Liverpool will consider selling Harvey Elliot if they receive an offer worth at least £40 million. The 22-year-old midfielder faces an uncertain future despite his impressive performances for England at the Under-21 Euros. Then we went on to Stan Collymore talking about Konate, and Collymore thinks that Liverpool will have to sell or get it, give him a contract. He agrees it or he doesn't, but if not, sell. That's Stan Collymore's take on it. Ben Jacobs said, keep an eye on Luis Diaz. He's Al Nassr's top target. At the moment, Liverpool don't want to sell, but if an offer arrives between 85 and €100 million, you never know. Liverpool might change their mind and the decision will depend on Diaz. Al Nassr are going to be really active when we get into July. What's this one? Here's an interesting piece from Chronicle Live, and Newcastle, it looks like, may need some money. This piece here said Eddie Howe wants 4 players that will improve Newcastle's starting 11, not just squad fillers. Newcastle United haven't signed a first-team starter in 3 windows now. The truth is, however, that spending £150 million could just see them stand still in what is shaping up to be the biggest, most competitive window in Premier League history. And this is why I wonder, will they take the Isak money? Because that would allow them to go and, not say rebuild, but reinvest big, having no PSR headaches then. If they brought in João Pedro, that would probably allow them to bring in 2 or 3 more top quality players. And I wonder, that's what I keep saying, this stuff is not going away. Then we had a post on the Anfield Agenda account that said Freddie Woodman is Liverpool's new number 3 keeper. 327 career appearances, 44 appearances for Preston last season. He is homegrown. Golden Glove Award at the Under-20 World Cup back in 2017, and the second time being signed by Richard Hughes. And then the last bit that we had was Florian Plettenberg saying Fenerbahce are now pushing to sign John Duran with immediate effect. The 21-year-old striker from Al Nassr is very open to returning to Europe and signing for Fenerbahce. New sporting director David Oshek is in Colombia for negotiations over a deal. Jose Mourinho wants him, and there have been direct talk between him and John Duran. Craig, can you go on holiday with me? Hamza, I'm really boring, mate. On holidays, all I want to do is just lie by a pool with a podcast on and just do nothing. That's my idea of a dream holiday. Lie around all day in the sun, do nothing, and then have some fun in the evening time. Right, we've got to 1,500 votes now, so thank you to everybody that voted. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but with 44% of the vote, you guys voted for Anthony Gordon as the one that you would like to see bring in to replace one of the two boys if we lose a left winger. So Anthony Gordon got 44% of the vote. Malik Fofana, 40% of the vote. Xavi Simons, 9% of the vote. And Yohan Bakayoko, 5% of the vote. So despite all of you guys giving out to me about Anthony Gordon, turns out that you're secret closet Anthony Gordon fans. There you go. Kevin Wright, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, my man. That genuinely surprised me. I thought it would have been Fofana by a landslide, or even Xavi Simons. The fact that you guys went for Anthony Gordon, Craig, once Chiesa goes and we don't get a right winger, who do we have for cover for Mo when he goes to AFCON? Frimpong, like you've mentioned, Nasser is one option. If at a push, you could maybe put Diaz across to the right. I mean, we keep forgetting about this. We could move one of our left wingers over to the right side and not have an inverted winger. I know, heaven forbid, but we could do that. Like you said, Frimpong's an option. We've seen Szoboszlai push the cross there at a push as well. Nothing to say Wirtz couldn't drift into a wide position either. So I think Liverpool will have options. And then we've got young Rio as well. Anfield Agenda is Gordon curious. I'm not. I just know that Liverpool like him. Like we said before, we kind of left him hanging a little bit last summer. He thought he was moving to Liverpool. There's the homegrown aspect. There's the fact that he's a Liverpool fan. He's in the right age bracket. He's Premier League experienced. I just can see a lot of boxes ticked. And I think Anthony Gordon would work incredibly hard to try and make it successful at Liverpool. But I totally understand anybody that doesn't think he's the right one. I'm not going to argue about that. I can see it. I can understand where you're coming from. I just can also see the positive aspect of it and the fact that, well, we can't even deny that Liverpool are interested because it's clear that we tried to sign him previously. So there's obviously fondness on both sides of it. You're my favourite podcast. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Really do. Thank you. It means a lot to hear that. Steve said, Craig, will we be more exciting to watch next year? That is a really interesting question because there were times this season, Steve, where I felt like we were too measured, a little bit too cagey is probably what I would say, because we didn't want to turn over possession. So I wonder, will we see Arne Slot really put an identity on the team now? Last year felt like it wasn't his team, it was Jurgen's team, but we knew how to make it work and we won the league. So very good question, and I would dare to say yes, because we've got more tools at our disposal from an attacking perspective. Rob Dance, I wish end of next season will be 500k subs. Oh God, I don't know, man. I don't know where to think of with the subs. Like, a good month is probably 10 to 12,000 subscribers. So, we've just come off the back of a 13,000 subscriber month, and that was a really good month. So if you extrapolate that over the course of the year, you'd be doing very well to get anywhere near 500k subs in another year's time. But I don't know. Like, I didn't think we'd be here. My goal when we started this channel was 5 to 10,000 subscribers after a few years. So I haven't got a clue anymore, mate. I just every day I wake up fearing that the wheels will fall off and that nobody will be here and that the channel will be dead. But I think that's also a good thing because it keeps me motivated to keep trying to make sure that I work hard and research as much as I can, and you guys enjoy what we put on. So that's where I always petrified, even a day off, and I'm scared that everyone's going to disappear. James Pearce ruled out the kid from Blackpool. He didn't necessarily rule him out. He kind of said Liverpool looked at Blackpool teenager Gabriel Schluter and admire him, but told suggestions of a deal to buy him is done or at cards is wide of the mark. Doesn't mean it'll never happen, but like you said, he has at least had a say in it. But sometimes I just think, why doesn't Pearce just say nothing? Because let's say we do end up signing this guy, then it's going to be another example of Pearce saying something and Liverpool doing the opposite. Liverpool aren't looking actively to bring in a goalkeeper, even though every single person knew that we were bringing in Georgi Mamardashvili and we signed him a few days later. So if we end up signing this kid, he will have, again, hurt his reputation for what upside? What's the upside of what he said? I don't understand some of the decision making. Robert Egan said, I love the WhatsApp group. Keep up the good work. What I'd like to try and do with the WhatsApp group as well is throw in some voice notes occasionally in there for you guys, because I could get a lot more done in a minute of a voice note than I could typing it out. So yeah, I'm trying to still figure it out. Like 95% of the stuff that gets posted on the WhatsApp group is me. Occasionally Connor puts a bit in, but yeah, you can tell by the timing if it's me, or anything after 3 p.m. and it's me. But yeah, I just don't want to overburden people in there either. But if you do want to join the WhatsApp community, it's almost at 7,100 at this point. Scan that QR code on the screen and that'll bring you in. City have 10 midfielders: Rodri, O'Reilly, Kovacic, Nico Gonzalez, Rangers, Gundogan, Silva, Cherky, Echeverry, Foden. Liverpool have 5 midfielders: Jones, Szoboszlai, Maka, Gravenberch, Wirtz. Does Endo count? Yes, as does McConnell, as does Nioni, as does, who else we got there in midfield? I mean, I don't know what the point of you saying City have 10 is. Like, if we count our youngsters, you'd probably get up to 8 or 9 quick enough as well. So we've got McConnell, we've got Gravenberch, we've got Endo, we've got, at the moment, Elliott, we've got Jones, we've got Szoboszlai, we've got McAllister, we've got Wirtz, we've got Nioni. I'm up to 9 already. So, by Cecic, 10. So, you know, there you go. We've got 10 as well. So what you're saying is we need to sell some. So, yeah, there you go. I feel like Gordon, Ekitike, Bakayoko are not really Liverpool class, and if they are to come, I see them as second or third choice. Liverpool need players like Osimhen and Isak. Yeah, look, I understand, appreciate where you're coming from. I just, I'm easy at this point about what Liverpool want to do, because our success rate in the market when we go in has been pretty good. So if Liverpool have somebody picked out, I'll support them when they come in. Is Stiller still an option? Honestly, don't know, Donovan. I'd hope so, because he's a very good player. But truth is, you know, if the manager rates McConnell as much as was reported the other day, and we have Endo, and by Cecic is still here, you would imagine one of those, particularly the 2 younger ones, may be the backup to Gravenberch for the longer term. Who is Brian? Brian is LFC USA, who is somebody who you'll see drop in and will put like 50 memberships into the chat or $100 super chat. Brian's also paid for people's tickets to come to shows, and Brian is a very kind soul from Boston who frequents the channel and is a good friend now as well. Right, what else we got? This YouTube channel has me here because of you, Craig. I love hearing your thoughts and feelings about Liverpool. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that, Aaron. Yeah, I love the club. I love football, and it inspires me. It makes me sad. It frustrates me, but ultimately, it plays on the heartstrings. And not many things in the world make me emotional. Food, my family, and football. That's probably about it. Maybe with music. Crimson Heart said, Craig, which rival player would you like at the club? Oh, good question. Um, so by rival, we're talking in the Prem, yeah. Who would I take from the Prem at Liverpool that I think we need in a position? The obvious answer to say would be Rodri, wouldn't it? But Grafenberg's pretty good. Isak, obviously, as a striker, that'd be a fairly easy answer to give you as well. Saka is very good at Arsenal, but we have Mo, Saliba, maybe. I think the answer would have to be Isak because that's what we need. So yeah, I'd say Isak. Palmer, I don't know. So something about Cole Palmer. I think he's still getting praised for stuff a while ago. He's gone through a fairly average patch. Craig, do you think the name Gordon speaks the same excitement to us as a Fofana or Yildiz? Also wonder if he's better than those in terms of price and age. So there's definitely something where, like Nathan Collins is a good example. When I brought up Nathan Collins the other day as an option, people weren't that excited about it. But if his name was Nathan Collinsau or Nathan Colindino, I dare say the reaction would be a little bit different. So sometimes, what we're used to, homegrown players, whatever, aren't as sexy or as exciting to people as a foreign sounding name. So all I can say is the reason I keep bringing up Anthony Gordon is because there's obvious admiration on both sides. And if we need a left-sided player, I just don't think we could look past Anthony Gordon as a potential option. Who's the second best centre-back in the Prem? It's probably Saliba. Marc Guehi would be fairly high up there, by the way, but it's probably Saliba. Yeah, I'd probably say Saliba. Colwell's nowhere near it, mate. Nowhere near it. Colwell has potential, but he's not there yet. Did you see the PSG trying to help Lyon and maybe prevent their relegation by paying the first instalment of Barcola? Look, it's always sad when you see clubs like that get relegated for, off-field issues, but ultimately, rules are there, financial rules for a reason. And if I don't understand the Lyon situation, so I'm not qualified to speak about it, but it's always sad seeing a club like that go down for financial reasons. Branthwaite is close to agreeing a new deal with Everton. I'd seen that earlier on, Luke James. Yeah, talk of a 5-year deal for Jared Branthwaite at Everton. Look, I don't blame him or them. They're going into that new era inside the Hill Dickinson Stadium or whatever the name of it is. So yeah, they're going to want to try and keep their best players in that new era. I get it. Saw a post regarding defenders and it said, teams looking at Branthwaite and mentioned Liverpool be interested even if the price was 70. We would be, but if he signs that new deal at Everton, which is looking like he's doing, then yeah, I think that puts to bed any chance of him moving this summer anyway. The Dubs for the double, your thoughts? Oh, Timo, I don't know enough about hurling to say if the Dubs would have any chance in that, although I did see they had a good win. But in football, yeah, you can never rule out the Dubs, can you? Although, again, not watching it week in, week out, from what I can gather, they're doing very well as well this year. Guehi would get even better with VVD. I agree, Paul. I agree. I think VVD and Konate VVD and Guehi would be a very good centre-back pairing. And Gomez, if he can stay fit, would be a great option as well. If Konate stays, agrees a new deal, happy days. If he doesn't, then we go and look for a younger defender to bring in. And by the way, I love that we're all talking. Actually, do you know, I'm going to ask that straight out. Do you think he's coming? So, 1 second. So, do you think we sign Marc Guehi? There we go. Do you think we sign Marc Guehi? Yes or no? I do at this point. I don't have any inside information on it. Like, I don't know something you don't know, but my gut feeling is absolutely we sign him at this point. Craig, the buyback for Kwanzaa is smart. It only becomes active in 2027 when VVD's contract expires, so they will have an option if he develops. Yeah, certainly. Very clever. Yeah, don't disagree at all, mate. As you said, 2 years, let him develop. If Liverpool think he's good enough to buy back as a replacement for Verge or whatever, yeah, really good. Good business by the club. Carl said, if Konate leaves, yes. But we're losing Kwanzaa, mate. So we're signing a centre-back regardless of what happens with Konate. You can forget about Konate being the reason we do or don't sign a centre-back. We're going to sign a centre-back because Kwanzaa's leaving. And Marc Guehi is the one that's been spoken about. So it's not linked to Konate, in my opinion. Chris said, given the reports, it makes sense to go from need leadership at the back if Verge doesn't play. Yeah, and can play both centre-back positions, left or right. Blah said, I think we should avoid Isak. He's a 70 to 90 million pound player valued at 150 million, too injury prone. I love him, but the valuation is mind-boggling. I'd be a liar, mate, if I said I didn't wrestle with that back and forth myself. Sometimes I land on the side of it's not my money, and if Liverpool can afford it, cool, make it happen. But other times, I have my sensible hat on, and I agree with you. I would value him not a million miles away from you do. I'd probably go a little bit higher, 80 to 100. But 150 million just seems madness. Absolute madness for a player who, as you said, has injury concerns. But I would also say maybe Liverpool feel that they could ease those injury concerns. But either way, if Liverpool want to go for him and he's the number one target, like I've said all the way through, I'll support whoever the club want to bring in. But I totally understand your reservations. I don't think you're on your own with that one. Excuse me. Isak, a little too old. He's 25, isn't he? 25, Isak? 25 or 26? I do think it's this year or never, though, for Isak. Because if he goes another year, I can see Liverpool then definitely feeling he's getting into the too old to commit this type of money to. Who's the kid from Blackpool we've signed? Well, it looks as if we haven't quite signed him yet. Because James Pearce has said that he believes... I'll read it out for you. James Pearce said, Liverpool looked at Blackpool teenager Gabriel Schluter and admire him, but told suggestions that a deal to buy him is either done or on the cards is wide of the mark. It was Peter Rourke that initially posted about it. So Peter Rourke posted and said, Liverpool have agreed a deal to sign Blackpool's teenage sensation Gabriel Schluter. The talent is set for a medical next week. So let's wait and see what happens. Hoarder said goalkeeper from Preston. Yep. We signed Freddie Woodman, 28. He's had 327 career appearances, 44 last year for Preston, homegrown, and is the second time that he was signed by Richard Hughes. We should get 150 million in player sales. I agree, Nick. I mean, what was it, 16 or 18 million for Kelleher. We'll get 40 million for Elliott. We'll get 30 plus add-ons for Kwanzaa. We'll get, if we end up selling Chiesa, probably 15 to 20 there. We'll get, I don't know, somewhere between 35 and 40 or 45 for Darwin. Tyler Morton will probably bring in 10 to 15 million pound. We got 3 million for Nat Phillips. So yeah, I can see us bringing in, like you said, 150 million without breaking a sweat. And it could be upwards of that. If you're talking about the likes of a Diaz or moving on, then you would imagine that figure could go up even higher again. And Ben Doak, yeah, Jonesy lad, thank you. I completely forgot about him. Yeah, Ben Doak, another one. So, you know, yeah, you could easily be up into the 180, 200 million mark then or higher. Craig, I heard someone say we get a new budget in July. Is that true? I think what you're confusing is the PSR cycle. The new cycle starts from the 1st of July, the new 3-year cycle for PSR. So, yeah, technically there's truth in what you're saying, but it's not like we have a separate pot of money. We just have the ability to spend more because a new PSR cycle starts in the 1st of July. I like the idea of us spending, but if you get Isak on top of who we've brought in, don't dominate. It's a bit embarrassing. Yeah, but let's not get to that point yet. Let's see if we get them in and then see how we get on. But, let's wait and see. Craig, what have you done with the Trent jersey in your room? It's currently leaning against the wall upstairs. I'm waiting to get some other shirts that I have getting framed back from the framers. But yeah, currently there's a Trent space on the wall and the jersey's still upstairs leaning against the wall in the frame. Wayne said, I think Adam Wharton is perfect for Liverpool, but it all comes down to price and whether Liverpool think they need a body in that position. Again, this piece the other day that said Arne Slot has been very, very impressed by James McConnell made me kind of sit up and take notice a bit as well. Phineas said, thoughts on Salah's goals and assist targets for this year? Does his numbers come down with Wirtz and new striker coming in? Don't know what to expect, Phineas, is the honest answer. I was talking about this with Connor earlier on. I'm unsure what to expect from Mo, but also, and I say this all the time, so this certainly isn't me being snotty about your answer or your question. I don't give a shit who scores the goals as long as Liverpool win games of football. If Mo has a belter season and maybe he doesn't have the same goals and assists but has contributed in other ways, brilliant. If Wirtz takes some of the burden, great. I mean, I want the load shared around as much as possible, especially with Mo going to be away for the AFCON. So, yeah, for me, it's just about Liverpool winning games of football, and who scores the goals, I don't mind, as long as by the end of it, we've got more goals than the opposition. I know that sounds really simplistic, but honestly, it's how I feel. I'm not too fussed on individual accolades. I want our players to be healthy, and I want them to be playing well, but after that, I don't mind who puts the ball in the net. Is the upcoming live show broadcast anywhere? No, it isn't. We just stay. What happens there stays there, Tony. And there's a reason for it. Trust me. If you've been to one of the live shows, I can get a little bit. Well, let's just say there's no filter when I do the live show. If you ask me a question about somebody and my opinion of them, then you're very much going to get my honest opinion of them. Yeah. So, these things will get me in trouble if they were to go on the internet because, people are, well, when you've got journalists threatening you with the police already just for tagging them in a post on Twitter, you kind of get where I'm coming from with it. Fab said yesterday on X that we want 65 million euros for Nunes. Is that 55 million pounds? Yeah, it's about that. And I don't think he's too far wrong on what Liverpool would initially be wanting. See, Liverpool will look at it and say, well, look, we had this offer from Saudi in January that we turned down, so the value was set. And Napoli will say, but we don't want to pay that much. And then it just comes down to whether we can come to an agreement with Napoli. Seemingly, Darwin does like the idea of going to play for Conte in Napoli. So it's up to Napoli now to get to a number Liverpool are happy with. Tony said, don't change. I love your honesty and openness. Thank you, mate. It's just the only way I know how to do it. Yeah, look, it would have been, my life would have been a lot easier if I played the game and, was a good little boy and said all the right things and, brown nosed where I needed to. My life would be a lot easier on this channel. Would probably have had a lot more opportunities, but it wouldn't be me and it wouldn't be sincere. And I always promised I'll be myself, and that's it. Will I be doing an FPL next season? There's usually one set up, but I don't really set them up. One of our mods usually sets one up. and I will be bang average in the middle of it, as I always am, because yeah, that's exactly where my place is in FPL, is right in the middle of the table. Not low enough for relegation, not good enough to push for the top prizes. Jonesy lad said, you're a breath of fresh air compared to the other yes men. Look, when I started this, I got a bit fed up of looking around and seeing everybody say everything's great, the club's great, we're all great, nothing's wrong, everything's fucking amazing. And I just thought, that's not life. People, that's not real. That's not sincere. And do you know what really winds me up more than anything else is when other outlets ignore the elephant in the room. You know, like for instance, let's just say I know of another Liverpool outlet who did a show in Ireland and refused from the entire show to speak about the Trent situation. And this was in the height of the Trent situation. Now, for me, I'm likely to go on stage and the first words out of my mouth to be, fuck Trent. How you go and do an entire show and not speak about the one thing that everybody there probably wants you to talk about is mind-boggling to me. But then again, got to be good boys, got to do what Uncle John and Tony or Tom say, and got to get that access. And to get that, you got to play the game. And I don't want to play the game. I want the freedom to say how I feel. And that's the way I've always been. Thoughts on Giorgio Scalvini? It's just another random name people have talked about as another potential centre-back option. And honestly, I probably haven't seen enough of him to give you a fair opinion, mate. Getting my first baby grandson his first Liverpool jersey. Oh, mate, that's awesome. That's awesome, Steve. Well in. Well played. Starting indoctrination early. Well done. I was the same when my two kids were born. No sooner were they out and cleaned up than they were in Liverpool stuff. Who's the top Brazilian strikers at the moment? I miss Firmino. It's not great. There's not exactly a huge plethora of talent there. I still think Bastoni will be amazing for us, Craig. I don't think he's an option. I think most of us here would agree with you. Bastoni's a very good defender, but doesn't look like there's any interest in him leaving. What else we got? AFCON dates 21st December to 18th of January. Yeah, it's I don't know. I get a pain in my arse with the AFCON. It's a winter tournament. It's a summer tournament. It's a winter tournament. It's a summer tournament. It isn't this year. It is this year. And guess what? Then it's next year. Nasser said, Craig, I don't think you realise what you've done for people. You've become a daily routine for people because of your honesty in this community. Like I always said, mate, I don't get it. I don't understand why you're here. I don't understand why you watch. I feel like someday you'll all realise that your mistake and that you won't be here and you won't watch. But all I can promise you is I'll keep being here. I'll keep showing up. I'll keep trying my best, and I hope you guys stick with us. But as regards to me being, even when people meet me and they like be, I met a guy the other day, right? I was in a hotel here in the town, my hometown. I was in a hotel the other day, and one of the staff came up shaking, asked me for a picture, and he's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're here." I don't get that. Like, I'm a normal fella. Just come up and say hello. I'm nobody. I'm not a celebrity. I'm a normal working class lad who's had a little bit of luck, but will never think of myself as anything else but a normal fella. You are who you are. I love it. Don't go changing. I don't think I can at this point, mate. You know, my mum used to always tell me that my mouth was going to get me in trouble, but she did know I was autistic at that point. To be fair to her, she thought I was just a very outspoken child who, even with teachers, would just say what was on my mind. I refused to ever lie in the way of, like, if I don't like you, I'm going to tell you I don't like you. I can't hide it. You know, it's written on my face. But to be fair, as I said, my mum didn't know I was going to be diagnosed with autism and Asperger's at that point, to be fair to her. So make sure you're popping in 12 man, going for a pint or two with us. Um, I think I don't know what the plan is yet. I know we're staying at the Shankly Hotel for the United game, so really excited about that. I've always wanted to stay there, so really excited to do that. And yeah, look, we're doing the show as well in Liverpool that weekend. So if you do want to come and see us for the very last time, the weekend of the United game will be in Liverpool. Tickets are only £15, and yeah, can't wait. Scott, how are we, dude? We're here because of the space that you created. You see, that I will take credit for. Of all the stuff, that's the one thing that I will say, yes. Like, we could have probably 50,000 more subscribers, but they wouldn't be the right type of community members. So we have worked very hard from day one to make sure that we have people in here who are contributing in the right way to the community and aren't in here to be assholes or toxic, or because I know there are people in the chat who are vulnerable. I know there are people who are like myself and maybe, lonely or isolated. I know there are people who are young. I know. So I try to make sure that it's a safe space and that everyone can express themselves without fear of being belittled, as long as it's in a respectful way. Dave said I was never diagnosed. Everyone just thinks I'm a twat. Well, I'll diagnose you as an Uber twat, Dave, if you'd like. Love, bro. Just love. Much joking. Right. Great chats, Craig. Feel better. Different opinions work together. I've learned so much from you guys over the years in here. So much about being a good person. So much about football. So much about different religions, different cultures, different ways of looking at life. I try to learn something every time I'm on here. I appreciate it. I've learned so much about, let's say, what goes on around Ramadan, as an example. When Mo's gone through that, I've learned what it's about, what the meaning behind it is. So many different things that I find just really cool and interesting, and I think help try to make me a better, more well-rounded person. Craig, see the Premier League trophy is doing a wee parade. It's in Swords, 4th of July. Nice. I've got my own version, so I'm good. I've got my full-size replica. Well, Rory has it at the minute, and I'm meeting him in a week or two to collect it off him, and thank you again, Rory, for that. Mike said, Brentford have rejected United's second bid for Mbomo. Also, who's replacing Johnny Heidinger? Nevertonians are bitter. Johnny has a Premier League medal. What's his name? Van Bronckhorst. Van Bronckhorst is coming in to be the number 2. Dirk Kuyt was looked at and somebody else was looked at, but ultimately it's going to be Van Bronckhorst. He's coming in. What was the other part? The Mbuemo stuff, yeah. It's crazy. They want over 60 million quid, and it looks like United will probably pay it as well. Lego head getting desperate. Yep. Absolutely. Right, folks, I'm going to go record the late night update. So I will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. Same time, same place. Thank you for coming in tonight and having a bit of fun with me again. If you can hit the like button before you head off. I don't think we're going to get 1,000 likes tonight, but we might get close with your help. So if you can, please do hit that like button for me. And I'll see you tomorrow. Again, thank you for such a cool night. Really appreciate all your input. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Much love. Bye-bye.